Coming up today on the Locked On Hornets podcast, what are the Charles Lee expectations going into year 2 of his tenure here with the Hornets? Plus, are injuries to blame for the Hornets having not reached the postseason or not reached any successful level over the last decade? And then it's who or best. Coming up today, Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free. We're available anywhere you get your podcast, and that does include YouTube. There's Doug Branson. You can find him on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. He is also a new producer of the new show, Yahoo Sports Daily, with Jason Fitz and Caroline Renford. Is that right? Fenton. I said Fenton. Renford again. Fenton.
Where does that even come from? Who is that?
I don't know, man. I really don't. I don't know who Caroline Renford is. She doesn't exist. Caroline Fenton. And I knew it as soon as I said it, and yet I got it wrong anyway. Caroline Fenton. Okay, there you go. Yahoo Sports Daily. Go check it out. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me, WFNZ, every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. This episode is brought to you by, drumroll please, drumming. FanDuel. Football season is closer than you think, and right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. Download the FanDuel app. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. Yeah, it's closer than you think. It's here. We're going into week 2, baby, and I'm excited for week 2 of the NFL season. So, Charles Lee expectations. I thought this would be interesting to talk about, Doug, because here we are going into the second year of his time with the Hornets, and yet the expectations for this team are all over the place. So, I don't know what matters in terms of if we're going to deem Charles Lee successful in his second season with Charlotte. Is it strictly just wins and losses? How many wins you have? Is that all we're going by? Are we going with individual player development? Does LaMelo reach a different level? Same thing with Brandon Miller. Does Con Knipple look like the real deal? And if he does, then are we just really giving Jeff Peterson more of the credit than really giving Charles Lee all the credit? Do you want to get to the play-in with however many wins that means, right? Do you get to the play-in and then get blown out? There are a bunch of different ways. I think Hornets fans and NBA fans alike are going to evaluate what this season is for Charlotte. What are your Charles Lee expectations?
I think he's already been successful in that I think this is beginning to be a more serious team. We've both seen it and not seen it in the offseason. And what I mean by that is we've seen more Charlotte Hornets participating in more team activities, veterans showing up for rookies, and we've also not seen any weird headlines this offseason. How much of that is Charles Lee? I don't know. But maybe this is causation, or correlation, not causation. I don't know. But, I'm going to give him a little bit of credit because we haven't had to deal with any of that stuff. And honestly, I think that's part of why they brought him in, was to bring a level of championship seriousness to this squad. He understands that you cannot have those distractions. And I'm sure that he's communicated that in some way, and Jeff Peterson too, to the young players and the veterans, the young players that are quickly becoming veterans on this team. So I think he's had some success already. But in terms of what I'm looking for this upcoming season, you got to start looking for some wins. I mean, I look at Jordi Fernandez and what he was able to do with a Nets team where if you could name 3 players on the Brooklyn Nets, I'd give you $100, right? I mean, there was not a lot of notable NBA talent up and down that roster. And now the one guy that you probably do know, well, they traded one of them, and now the other guy that you probably would know just took the qualifying offer. Jordi Fernandez got them to 26 wins. Hornets had 19. Yeah. So, I'll just give you a number. I'll say floor for me is 10 wins, 10-win improvement. So get to 29. Anything above that, I think, is gravy. Anything above that, I think, requires LaMelo Ball to play 65-plus games. You're getting Brandon Miller healthy for the year. then I think you can get over that 29 win threshold. But I expect, a big improvement.
Well, okay. Stop me if you've heard this point before, but we have to be healthy first before we can really evaluate what Charles Lee can do. And it cost Steve Clifford a job in his second go around. Steve Clifford came in and he was 27-55, and then he was 21-61. Yet nobody felt like he was dealing with a stacked deck whatsoever. He loses his job because a new regime takes over, and they decide they want their guy at head coach. It's understandable. James Borrego made a couple of 10-win improvements. He did from 23-42, or 23-42 to 33-39 to 43-39. Michael Jordan got rid of him because you got blown out in the play-in a couple of times. So if you do improve, then you better improve the next year, and not only just in wins and losses, but once you get to that stage, whatever it may be, then you need to improve from there. Like, I guess my point being is it's really hard to stick around in the NBA. We dabbled in this when discussing if Charles Lee was going to be the head coach 4 years from now. The odds will tell you that he won't be. I just wonder if you can provide a foundation to give yourself a nice head start to actually turn the odds around on you being here 4 years from now. And just to prove that point further a little more, I looked at the longest active tenured NBA coaches in the game, and AI told me it was Steve Kerr was up there, Eric Spoelstra 1, Steve Kerr 2, and then AI told me Mike Malone, Taylor Jenkins, Tom Thibodeau. Except those last three, they got fired. So really, what the real answer is, it's Billy Donovan 3rd, it's Tyronn Lue 4th, and it's Mark Daigneault 5th, and they're all going into their 6th season. So they've completed 5 seasons with their team. I mean, it's really hard to stick around, not only as a coach in the NBA, but really all sports. I think hockey's number 1. Turnover is crazy in hockey. And I think the NBA is second. You get hired to get fired. That adage is true. And I'm just hoping Charles Lee can provide a foundation with us staying healthy to where he gets the benefit of the doubt every single season, and we are improving every single year.
All right, I'm going to argue with all of your points one by one. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To the injury point, I would say that was very true last year, but that was because they did not have enough depth. Because if I'm on RotoWire right now and I'm looking at an article about the 24-25 season, most games lost to injury. The Charlotte Hornets had the 4th most games lost to injury, total games missed at 508. They had 26 players injured. The Brooklyn Nets had the most games lost to injury at 536, and the number of players injured just one more at 25. But the difference between the Brooklyn Nets, I know that there weren't notable names, but I think there was just more talent, and Jordy had them playing more defense than the Hornets were able to accomplish. And the Hornets go so much as LaMelo Ball goes. Maybe that's better with Brandon Miller, one more year of at least experience, even if he hasn't gone on the floor, just one more year of seeing NBA basketball, of growing as a basketball player. Maybe you get a little bit more his way, but also I just think all of the players that they've added, that I'm just going to be less inclined to use the injury excuse this season, even if it's LaMelo out. Now, again, they got no shot at any kind of playoff idea, but the fact that they can't improve without LaMelo, not buying it this year. They've added too much talent for me to say that they cannot improve from 19 wins, that win total, unless they decide as an organization they don't want to do that. That's not on Charles Lee, obviously. Now, to the question of, the longest tenured coaches, we talked about this before the show. Like, a lot of those coaches have one thing in common. They've won a championship with their team. Mark Daigneault, the newest member of that club. The one guy who hasn't is Billy Donovan. But, I've talked to a lot of people who are Bulls fans, and they're all wondering, like, why is Billy Donovan still the coach? I like him as a person. I like him as a coach. But I don't understand how you could go this long with this little success and still be the head coach. And I think part of that is alignment with the front office. The front office likes you. The ownership is not really – take Sacramento, for example. They have a billionaire owner. I think he's a billionaire, but he's itchy trigger finger, loves to fire coaches and move players. And the Hornets, I'm not sure they have that. I don't think Schlotkin, they haven't proven themselves to be super impatient. Maybe they become that, 2 or 3 years from now. But that would be the first that we would have witnessed that. It's not a situation where you've got somebody looking to make moves now. It's not an Ishbia situation in Phoenix. So, yeah, I mean, I think he has the potential to get a little bit of a longer look than maybe another coach would.
Okay.
In another situation, I should say.
All right, let's finish some of those thoughts. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
Injuries to blame. It's even in the second bullet point. We'll move on to something Doug wants to discuss in just a moment and finish up some of those Charles Lee points. Coming up, Locked On Hornets, second segment. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of the golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5 Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5 Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the beverage cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. That's for 2. Tee up that trip. Visit FIVEHEWin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Wanted to counter your points just real quickly and just go back and forth a little bit. No, the injury stuff, I know it gets old, but I don't think it becomes any less valid. And I hear your point on Brooklyn. I do think that they did have more talent and there wasn't quite the G Leaguers that the Nets were throwing out there. And you're right. In your world where the Hornets aren't nearly as injured as they were last year, then yes, we're going to grade based off the talent that's out there on the court, right? I give Charles Lee quite a bit of leeway when you're throwing out a whole bunch of G Leaguers because that's what you were doing. 2-way contract guys that you had to go to, and your top 2 players on the team played a combined not 70 games. It was right around 70 in LaMelo and Brandon. And so you're right. Like your focus is LaMelo because he's chronically injured, except your top 2 players were out for so many games. So next year, you get Colin Sexton. You have Trey. Well, I mean, depending on where you put Trey Mann. Like Trey Mann played 13 games, and he was your 6th man of the year candidate. Brandon Miller was like, hey, could he make a jump into all-star category? And I was pushing the LaMelo Ball all-NBA narrative. That's a lot of like potential accomplished achievement kind of guys that are not playing any games. Can you just dodge that much of the injury bug? Are you going to have injuries to your 3 most important offensive players again? Are they going to miss? Are they going to play 3 players of that importance? Are they going to reach a combined 80-something games? All 3 of those guys?
They played 74 last season.
All 3 of those guys together?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the third guy?
No, Trey Mann. So add 13, 87 if I can do math. 87 games for all 3 of those guys. Like that's, oh God, you know? So if that doesn't happen, I'm here for everything you just said. If it does, well then damn. Like we have to do.
But then if that were to happen, like if the apocalypse happens, then they'll turn the wheel. Like they won't need any help. It's not like they're going to
try to win.
You would think. I mean, because they own their own picks. So I mean, yeah, they would turn the wheel at that point.
Well, so this is the interesting part too. So if they turn now, the expectations change everything. Now it's not all about wins, right? So if LaMelo doesn't play 50 games again, God, now we're really talking about doing something now about his future, right? So, and if you get rid of what is still clearly your best player because he's injured all the time, now the expectations for the team, they've completely turned into what you want to accomplish. And if they especially trade him at the deadline, yeah. Anyway, so let's just say that everybody is reasonably healthy. Let's say that you have normal injury luck. In that case, then I'm with you on all of the goals you want to accomplish. I'd like to flirt with the play-in spot. And if we get there, I'd like to be competitive. Ultimately, that's something we haven't seen in over a decade. Get to the play-in tournament, not over a decade, but almost a decade now, which is crazy. get to the play-in tournament, and if you get there, possibly be competitive in it. And then give us reason for hope in 2026, 2027. And if you don't give us reason for hope in 26, 27, then that's going to be quite brutal to deal with. So I think it's vague, it's broad. You do have a lot more talent. You do have a lot more talent than what you did last year offensively. And can you lean into the strengths of the team in the way that it's been constructed and then have that parlay into, Charles Lee, like it's not the most amazing team in the world, but you really emphasize their strengths and you cause some damage. I think that's what I'm looking for next season.
You just reminded me of the Tim Bontemps quote that's going around right now. They were on the Hoop Collective podcast. They got around to talking about the Charlotte Hornets. Perfect time, September 10th. And Tim said this. He said, quote, "If we're here talking about the Hornets in the next offseason with Melo playing 40 to 50 games, then we're entering Zion Williamson territory with him. He just can't stay healthy. Charlotte needs a direction. LaMelo needs to be on the court for that to happen. If it doesn't, they need to think about a trade that gives them that direction without him." And I would say they're in worse. I would say they're in worse territory than Zion. Like I think if New Orleans really wanted to part with Zion, I think they could. I think that for some, it won't be amazing value. It won't be Zion Williamson, peak Zion Williamson value. But I think they could get rid of him if they had the will. I'm not sure that would be the case with LaMelo because of the particular type of injury, the ankle, and the way he plays. Okay. But yeah, I think both of us, I think you make some valid points there, and those are the expectations. I do have a bit of, before we get to this thing that I want to get to, that it kind of segues right into it, because injuries to blame, I think everybody's pretty clear that injuries have played a significant part of the past couple of years and the number of wins or the lack of wins, okay? But there was an interesting tweet from James Plow writing an article on the BuzzBeat Substack that I want to talk about in just a second, but we do have a bit of news if I can pull it up here. This was from Ira Heat Beats of the Miami Heat. I can set it up without. So the Hornets released a graphic on social media, and that graphic had a list of theme nights, and pretty standard list of theme nights. So you got a kids night, you've got HBCU nights, you've got a pride night, sort of just running the gamut of the normal nights. Sure. And in fact, there's another normal night that has become the new normal night for not just the Charlotte Hornets, but a lot of NBA teams. And that is a night that celebrates all things betting. Not a big deal, right? I mean, we do, betting is pervasive in sports, whatever you think about that.
It's legal in North Carolina now.
It's legal in North Carolina. No problem with that. Okay, but there is one tiny issue with it, and that's that they're playing the Miami Heat on March 17th during that betting night. And Miami Heat features a former Charlotte Hornet, Terry Rozier, who was under investigation for possibly betting on games or some, I'm not going to get it exactly right because I don't have it in front of me. But there was enough of an association that just know this, Ira Winderman, the beat writer for the Miami Heat. What?
No, I'm laughing at this entire thing. No, the whole, all of it, I'm laughing at.
Yeah, I wish I could talk and type. It's not something that I've totally mastered yet. Ira Heat Beat on Twitter if you want to go look at the tweet. And bottom line is, here it is, 6 hours ago, Ira. The Hornets have removed sports betting night from their promotional calendar on their website. It had been scheduled for the March 17th appearance of Terry Rozier in the Miami Heat. It is no longer happening on that date.
Yeah. So
common sense prevails.
We were talking off air about this yesterday and how we wanted to talk about it in the previous episode. You were saying how you would have liked the Hornets to just lean all the way into this. And they decided, we don't want any part of this. Oops,
they leaned all the way out.
Mistake. They got out of that business immediately. Which probably it probably does make it look worse, right? If you just kept it, then maybe you could.
Don't apologize. Everything about our culture says do not apologize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By the way, you were asking, is there still an investigation? So according to the Wall Street Journal, authorities believe some of the people involved in the Jonte Porter betting scandal, may have had some inside information that compelled them to bet against Terry Rozier. While authorities are investigating whether Rozier manipulated his own performance, he has not been charged or directly accused of wrongdoing. That's still coming in as of honestly 14 minutes ago from Steven Toronto, I think. Toronto. There's an A in there, from CBS Sports, who had this update. So, yeah, who knows? You're right. There was a report about how there was no more investigation, and then this Malik Beasley thing happens, and then it's actually resurfaced with that whole report saying that Terry Rozier's investigation is over and done with. That's actually not true. They're still investigating it. So it seems to be a mess.
I did want them to lean all the way into it. I wanted them to allow smoking in Spectrum Center. I wanted people to come around and serve drinks while you gambled during the game. I wanted slot machines in the concourse that instead of concessions. Slot machine, whether or not you get popcorn or whether you get candy. That's what I wanted them to lean all the way into it if they were going to do it. Instead, they've decided to lean all the way out.
Yeah, it's too bad. That would have been hilarious. Okay, let's get to the thing you wanted to talk about. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Who are best?
Bees everywhere!
It's not going to happen. I've given up all hope. I've given up every single ounce of hope that I've had before. No, it's all gone. It's not here anymore. Are injuries to blame for the Hornets' shortcomings over the last 5, 10, however many years it's been now? We'll get to that in just a moment, LOH. All right, Doug, share with the people what you wanted to discuss.
Why did I? Okay, I had to go back. I don't know why. I get the tweet in front of me, and then for some reason I'm scatterbrained, and then I go away from the page, and then I have to bring up the page. Here's what I want to discuss.
Okay,
it's a tweet from James Plowright, who writes for BuzzBeat. There's an article attached to this, but it's behind the paywall, and I haven't read it. I just want to say that up front. So I'm not what I want.
Oh no! Well, what are we doing then?
Okay,
no, don't be that guy.
Hold on.
No, okay.
Hold on.
All right.
I just want to say that because I'm not commenting on the article. There may be a lot of stuff in there that makes a lot of sense, but I think that this premise is interesting enough to talk about without having read the article. I'm not attacking James Plowright or the article because I haven't read the article, so I don't know. But here's the premise. What if injuries had not derailed Charlotte's rise? And this article is part 1, breaking down the pivotal turning points behind the downfalls of Al Jefferson, Nic Batum, and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Mm-hmm. So the question that I think is interesting enough to discuss without having read the article, because it's behind a paywall. Look, I mean, I got a baby, okay? The baby's expensive.
Right.
The question is, when you look back at the last time the Charlotte Hornets made the playoffs, 2015, 2016, almost 10 years, were injuries primarily responsible for that whole experiment coming apart? Not the idea that they missed out on the second round, although you could talk to that too, but the idea that that whole team eventually fell apart and did not rise because of injuries. What say you?
So, yeah. I hate this, by the way. I just want you to know that. I want the other people to know that I don't like approaching a headline without having read one single word.
That's why you're not commenting on. You can't possibly comment on their opinion just because you haven't read it. I want your opinion
that's
on
fine.
Did injuries derail, because everybody's going to assign some percentage of blame to a lot of different things when something looks like it's going to be good and then all of a sudden it isn't, which is what happened with that team. How much of it do you put on injuries?
I don't put it. Here's the interesting case with the injury, in my opinion. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. What happened there? Because the year that he was injured, the Hornets were pretty good with him on the floor, and he mattered a ton to this team defensively. I think when I think of MKG's injury that season where he played 7 games, I think of that more so as it affected his career specifically. But as a byproduct of that, you are talking about what the Hornets might have accomplished had he missed a normal 10, a normal 15 games or whatever, and how much that hurt his shooting improvements that he had been making. And remember, even that last year, it was a point that I made, one of my earlier hot takes in Locked On Hornets lore, was that he's shooting well enough to where he should take 1-3 a game. But either way, I think his improvement was held back quite a bit. Nic Batum's injuries that he suffered, I don't think that that's the reason as to why Nic Batum was not what everybody wanted him to be. His role does not constitute a $26 million a year contract like we thought it did.
Oh, you want to have that discussion? Ooh, that's classic.
Yep, he was miscast. We fell for it. We, as in me, like I was here for paying him the $26 million contract.
Well, the Hornets fell for it twice.
Yeah, and Dallas would have had the Hornets not paid him, right? So this is what it was. They weren't the only ones, but they'd signed the contract, whatever. Al Jefferson, his injury against the Heat was plantar fascia. And as far as I understand about that specific injury, that is everything to do with pain tolerance more so than you're really at risk at re-injuring it. I could have that wrong, but that's what I remember it being discussed then and how I remember it being discussed when other players have had that injury. So I'm not sure that that had a long-lasting impact on what Al Jefferson was. I know that it had an impact in that series, but he was also awesome in that series. I guess the idea is that he could have even been more awesome had he not been suffering it. I subscribe to that a little bit. The other thing to think about with Al Jefferson is that he was already old, man. He was already old. So yeah. MKG's injury is the most interesting case for me to look at in terms of how it affected the Hornets' lack of success. The other two players mentioned, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, when I think about both the Bobcats' rise, you know, in 13-14 and then the 15-16 team, those did get derailed by those injuries. Like in the sense that Nic Batum's injury was impactful to that Miami Heat series, though they almost won it. And certainly Al Jefferson's injury was impactful to that series. But when I zoom out and think about why didn't the Charlotte Hornets rise to become a perennial relevant team, not a championship contending team, but even just a perennially relevant team, which they had the potential to because they had a star in Kemba Walker, an all-star, multi-time all-star. They didn't do it for two reasons. One, they drafted horribly, and we look at these top 100 players of all time list, and we just got done looking at the top 100 players in just this season of the NBA, but you also look at the top 100 players all time. And I talked about it when Bleacher Report did their top 100. You just go down that list and you'll occasionally get to a Portland Trailblazer or you'll get to a Milwaukee Buck with Giannis. Like these middling franchises, small market, medium market, whatever you want to call them, and they sometimes trip and fall, and sometimes they're really smart, and they acquire a generational talent. Under, post Bob Bass, they were never able to do that. That, to me, is reason number one, because you can mess up so much as a franchise. You can get contracts wrong. You can do all kinds of things that silly team building. I mean, look at Milwaukee now. That team makes no sense. They're going to win 50 games. Or they'll win 45. They won't win 50. But they'll win like 45 games because of Giannis. Like a great player changes everything. Some of that's luck. But I think when you look over the history of the Hornets drafting during that time, you would see much more. You would see less, ooh, they got unlucky, and more, oh man, they just completely misevaluated Frank Kaminsky, or they completely misevaluated. Just go down the line, okay? So that would be thing number one. And then thing number two, before I ever got to injuries, I would look at the frugalness of Michael Jordan and the unwillingness to bet on that 15-16 team in some way. Like if he didn't believe that Jeremy Lin was going to stay healthy, that looked good in hindsight, but there was just no willingness to really and say, all right, 15-16, we barely missed, so now we're going to go a step above. I would argue they tried to play it out and even maybe took a little bit of a step back, because there was the mindset of that organization under Michael Jordan was, we have to strike gold before we're ever ready to mine silver. And it just didn't make any damn sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of goes to your Giannis point, though, right? They were looking for their Giannis, and they never got him. They did. I'm sorry. That's it for me. Those I can square those two things because they're sort of two different things. One is they never got the shortcut, and they were also never willing to do what it took to take the long way. It's possible. Teams have done it before.
It's not. I mean, Indiana's doing it right now.
They're the ones. Yeah, they do it all the time.
Toronto. I mean, Toronto before they got Kawhi, they were relevant for many years before they eventually won their championship with Kawhi. There's a way to do it, and they did not have the basketball acumen going up and down that front office, basketball talent evaluation acumen. Yeah. And they didn't have the willingness to invest.
Well, I mean, the other thing, too, we can just put it simply, they just didn't hit enough draft picks. Like, that. Let's just put it real simple. You didn't hit enough draft picks after that season. No matter what draft you had traded a first-round pick to go get Marco Bellinelli, and so that's a bad decision. That's a decision that
retired, by the way.
Yeah. All right. You just had bad draft history, and you're right. Like, I understand why they paid everything they did up until you got to the max. Like, Nic Batum got a monster contract. There's a reason they weren't frugal with Nic Batum. They weren't so frugal paying MKG, and they viewed him as like another free agent addition, having only played 7 games the previous season. And they paid Marvin Williams. The guys they let go because they couldn't keep all 5. It was Al Jefferson, who signed, I believe, a $10 million annual 3-year contract with Indiana. And then Jeremy Lin, who signed the big contract with Brooklyn. Those are the 2 guys they decided not to keep. And so if you're arguing they could have gone in after other free agents, then okay, that would have been, if that's the summer of the salary cap spike, correct? Right after that postseason, that was the year where everybody was throwing money all over the place. Mm-hmm. And that's where it gets a little tricky, because now it's one of those be careful what you wish for. They paid for Nic Batum, but everybody was spending money on Mozgov. Everybody was spending money on Luol Deng. So the price, it goes up. You had to pay star money for a guy that not only wasn't a star, might not have been average, might have just been outright bad. To me, it's the decision-making after the fact, and it's the failure to instill young talent to facilitate the aging talent in their prime. And that's the reason, not because of injuries, that's the reason as to why they were never able to get back to the outright playoffs ever again. See if they can do it. We'll see if they can do it.
Yeah, that's so all I'm saying. And again, go subscribe to BuzzBeat, if they got a free trial, do it. And, maybe they make great points. I don't know. I just don't. I think if you're asking me, were injuries?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I kind of agreed with them at the beginning of the segment. I said, yeah, like if you just in a vacuum look at those playoff series, without a doubt, significant injuries had an impact on those playoff series. Which I guess if they won those playoff series, come on, they didn't have a chance to beat the Heat. But the
7-game series, I guess they did, right?
Yeah, no, I'm saying they didn't have a chance when Al had his injury,
right?
So, so I think that if you look at it in a vacuum, but if you zoom out and say, why did the franchise derail and never rise? That had way more to do with other things than injuries.
The one thing we don't really talk a whole lot about MKG only playing 7 games in the postseason year for them. We discuss MKG's injury year, but I don't think we ever make the connection between that being the playoff year, because MKG doesn't take them out of playoff contention. Like that's one of the ones where we always argue. You see it recycled on Twitter every year or something like that. MKG being a bust, and then I know Nada's MKG bust senses are tingling because he'll go defend him, and I think there are reasons to defend him. But yeah, anyways, MKG stuff makes me sad. Okay,
do you remember that? The vibes were just so good that season? Because do you remember MKG coming back and just hitting a couple of threes, like in a way we were like, oh, and of course then he got injured again. But just the fact that even his short stint gave us all a little injection of hope.
He was 2 for 2 in a win against the Lakers. He was 1 of 2 in a win against Chicago. The Hornets record in the 7 games that he played, they were 5-2.
Insane.
That mattered. Yeah,
I mean,
MKG stuff. It makes me sad how all of that happened, and it became a joke with the graphic of the elbow, touching the other elbow with the shooting form like that. That's yeah.
Well, you kind of did just make the argument that had MKG even been slightly healthier, and I think I think we even discussed this in like a what if segment in the silly season prior, that because of the way the tiebreaker shook out and the Hornets ended up getting the 6th seed instead of the 3rd seed, had he just been slightly healthier and they had won a couple more ball games, they probably are the 3rd seed.
No, this is it's why I opened up my answer with your question with MKG. That's the argument right there. That's the one. If you look at what MKG did and did not accomplish, both actually in that one season, if you're asking what could they have accomplished after that, then it gets a little dicey. But in that specific series, MKG healthy, maybe, or that specific season, right? Because the idea is that he comes back and doesn't get re-injured. Maybe have a tiebreaker. Yeah, that he was an important defender. So, okay, there's an agreement, and there's where we'll end it because who wore it best, please? You guys don't expect that. That's not getting done. Doug Branson, everyhornetsboxscore.com, Yahoo Sports Daily.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, no,
David Walker on tomorrow. We're also getting into that. We thought he was going to be on today. He's going to be on tomorrow. I promise.
No, I believe you. Every single time you promise me, I believe you. Yahoo Sports Daily with Jason Fitz. And I was going to get it wrong again on purpose
Caroline
just
Fenton.
to spite you, but I'm not going to do it to her. Caroline Fenton. You should go. You should go check out that show. It is a lot of fun. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me, WFNZ, every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.